Hello there, everyone. I'm Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this is the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we're continuing on with Studs and Duds, and I've got Jesse. Well, I can't do names today. Jesse Moeller.
Yes, sir.
And all right, so here's your marching orders. I apparently am dying from a slight allergy attack. So if I happen to keel over in the middle of the show, please finish the show and the rest of the guys and then call 911. I'll survive the extra 10 minutes. Having said that, thank you for joining me. You want to, take a second here, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at the League Winners and P2W Fantasy. I'm on Twitter, you see below the bottom of the screen. It's JMoeller05. I'm on all of other social media platforms, but basically find me on JMoeller05, and you can find me on all of the platforms connected to that username.
I am going to close a couple of my background screens here because my computer looks like it's having a stroke, much like I am myself.
Yeah.
So your face was a little off there, unless you've mastered ventriloquism. Let's see. Let's close that down. All right. Well, let's get right into it. We've got Miles Sanders up first. 1,269 rushing yards, 78 receiving yards, which seems low, but I did it last minute, so it's probably a typo. 11 touchdowns, 235.2 fantasy points for 12.75 per game. Finished as RB15 last year. Currently sits as 51 overall in Fantasy Pros ADP. He's actually down to 52, bringing him in as RB21. Is he your stud or your dud, and why?
Miles Sanders is an absolute dud for me, and let me break it down why. He was in the perfect game script situation. He's with the Eagles. They had the best O-line in the game. They had all the weapons around him, so it's set up perfectly for them to just lean on Miles Sanders and run the clock. And he's going from that situation in Philadelphia to Carolina, where the team is significantly worse, and they have a rookie quarterback. And I know it's Bryce Young and he's good, but we just don't know how good it's going to be. On top of that, Miles Sanders was one of the worst pass catchers in the NFL last year. He was 125th in yards per reception. He was 127th in target rate. He was 128th in yards per route run, and he was 53rd among running backs in ADOT. So basically what that tells us is he's a negative pass catcher. So I get it. They don't have a lot of weapons in Carolina, but running backs are not just given targets. That's not how it works with running backs. Like, you still have to earn the targets. Like, he may get some checkdowns that may improve, but I just don't see any chance he's going to match that RB15 finish from last year with Carolina this season.
The only thing that makes or gives me any hope for him is the rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. I know they're probably going to be a bad offense with a rookie, but rookie quarterbacks tend to panic, and they don't really have a good tight end to check down to. So I think it's possible he may have a career high or close to a career high with his rookie season in receptions, but he may set a career low in everything else, including the 11 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to come anywhere near that. No. I like him better as a pass catcher. I like him better in full PPR leagues than I do in standard leagues, but I can't argue that at all. Let's bring up his ADP here. Yeah. Fantasy Pros, and presto. There we go. As I said, he's 52 overall, RB21. And right as I look here, I see a mix of guys I really would like and really don't like. I like Jones, don't like Pierce. Like Mixon and Dobbins. Sanders, Akers, they're meh. Don't like Swift at all. Don't like White. So I think whether or not I own Sanders is going to be largely dependent on how the draft has gone. In this range, there's probably 5 guys I would take over him, but there's also 5 guys like I'm taking him over Swift, White, Connor, Montgomery, Javonte, Pacheco pretty handily, but I think I'd take Akers, Dobbins, Mixon, and Jones for sure. Pierce, I don't know. What do you think? What about this range in Miles Sanders?
So there's a pretty clear cutoff. Once we get past Dobbins, there's a lot of guys with question marks there. So if you want to take anyone in particular of that group, like, feel free for it. But that's just the running back landmine zone where I really don't want any running backs in that range. Like, you can make a case for Rachaad White just because of his college profile, even though he was super inefficient last year. It's kind of similar to Sanders. They don't have anyone else on the offense. Like, they have 2 good wide receivers, but like Baker Mayfield, who's he going to throw to, right? Because he just sucks as quarterback. You could make the case for James Conner. It's kind of similar. If Clayton Tune's starting, it's going to be an atrocious offense, but he's going to see volume.
Yeah,
And
this looks like the range for running backs where it's like, fuck it, there's nobody else. They've got to get like Sanders, Akers, White, Connor. There's nobody else. You're right.
yeah,
So
I'm just gonna go down a little bit farther with the running backs and target those guys discounted value. Like I would
yeah,
just
let's see who we
rather
got.
wait. Like just at least use guys. You can get Kamara later. Like I'll take the mystery box that is Kamara this year, or I'll take
The
Herbert,
mystery box.
Samaje Perine early. You could do.
I like Gibson here at 104.
I love myself some Rashad Penny super late. Like it gets pretty questionable that far down, but like the opportunity cost is much less significant. And like another issue with Sanders is like his metrics were pretty bad last year. Like he was 35th in juke rate, he was 29th in breakaway run rate. Like he was not that good.
You misspoke. You said Miles Sanders' metrics were not that good last year, or were bad last year. What you meant to say was Miles Sanders is bad. There, yes, I corrected it.
There you go. Just make it nice and simple. Like he just wasn't good. He was in a great situation last year, and people are propping him up where they think he's going to be a bell cow, and that's something he's never been in his career. So I don't see how he's going to be a bell cow. Like he's going to fall into some volume just because they paid him, so they'll play him. But he's not going to be an RB1. Like I've seen people say that, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, just why? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it.
All right, your choice. Who's next?
All right, let's go with stud. Just go to DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, that's actually who I was clicked on already.
Make it nice and easy.
Arizona wide receiver. Well, not Arizona wide receiver. Unknown team's wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, 717 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 134.7 full PPR points. Good for 16.9 per game. Finished as wide receiver 47. Currently 48th overall in ADP, which brings him in as wide receiver number 19. You said he's a stud. Why is he a stud for you?
He's a stud because he bounced back in a big way last year. I was on the fade DeAndre Hopkins train going into last year, and he had the suspension with the PDs and all that stuff, and all that happened. So like, oh, he could be falling off a cliff. And what does he do? He puts up a 29% target share. His top 10 in points per game. Like his target rate was top 10. His air yard share was second in the league. Like DeAndre Hopkins is that dude. I get it. He's old, but he proved to everyone like, hey, I still have enough left in the tank, so don't worry about it. Wherever he ends up, I know he's a mystery right now, he's going to see volume. It does not matter. He's going to dominate targets. Even if he went to like Philadelphia, he would bring all the other guys down because that's how much of a target hog he is. So I'm not worried about his cost. And wide receiver 19, that feels like a floor for Hopkins as long as he plays. Like he's going to beat that ADP. So I'm fully on the DeAndre Hopkins train. I'm not worried about him at all.
Yeah, I think I've said many times it looks like there's a top 15 for wide receiver. I see Metcalf as the absolute cliff. After that, it's a bunch of, I don't mind Cooper, but Hopkins, Cooper, Keenan Allen seem like that bridge group there between Metcalf and the not so solid wide receivers. I like, McLaurin, Moore, Pittman. I like some of them, but Hopkins, Allen, Cooper definitely seem like the bridge here. So I definitely don't mind Hopkins. I probably have a few shares of him. He's not someone I'm going to target. Same with Allen. Same with who else? Amari Cooper. They're never receivers I target. They're just kind of he fell 3 rounds because he's old and nobody wants him anymore. Fuck it, I'll take him. So
those guys are just perfect floor plays. Like they're solid. You're getting. They're not going to be a top 5 wide receiver. They'll be top 12s. And Cooper, he's kind of borderline, but
they're that range where it's like nobody else wants them. Fuck it, I'll take them.
Yeah, I love
pretty sure those were my wedding vows. All right, who do you want next?
Let's go to the other running back I'm fading, Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Sea Chickens.
Yes, my chickens. Yep.
20. I have that backwards. That would be 1,050 rushing yards. Excuse me. The allergies. Excuse me. 1,050 rushing yards, 27 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns, 220 fantasy points for 13.5 per game. Finished as RB8, battling through some injuries. Currently 31st overall, which puts him as wide receiver 13. Why are you out on him?
So my whole issue with Walker is I don't see the upside case for him to do a difference-making running back because not only did they draft Zach Charbonnet, they also drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba, which means they have 3 premium pass catchers. So without the pass catching, you're going to need Walker to dominate touches on the grounds, and he's going to dominate. They're going to have to dominate end zone snaps. Like he's going to have to get all of that and score a lot of touchdowns to pay off, because without it, he's just going to be a floor play. So I worry about him. Like I wouldn't mind having him on my team in Dynasty. Like I get it because he's young, he's promising, but the upside just really isn't there. And if we're talking about this year particularly, I don't know how it's going to shake out. Like I don't know how the end zone like role is going to play out, because Charbonnet's a bigger back, right? They like that. Walker struck. I get it. Like this is the stat everybody harps on, but he had the lowest like success rate among running backs over 100 carries. So it's like, I get it. There's issues. He's a boom bust running back, and we've seen those guys succeed. Like Saquon Barkley is the definition of boom bust running back, but Walker is just, there's too many question marks for me to have confidence that he's going to smash his ADP. Now he could theoretically hit like 15 touchdowns this year because the offense is that good, and they could tackle DK at the one like 4 times, kind of like they did last year at Amon-Ra, where Jamal Williams got so many touchdowns because of that. But I just don't want to bet on touchdowns. Like that's so hard. So I just have question marks about Walker. I think he's a good running back. Like we saw that. He's very up and down, but at his cost, I'm just not willing to fully bet on him. I'd rather just, you'll see this with a lot of running backs starting even in that range where it just starts getting real questionable with a lot of these guys. Like once we get past Gibbs, and I mean, Jones is, he's good. Like I like Jones too, but like, it's just question marks all around. So it's like, I'll take Mixon over him. Like you could make the case, and then it gets to like really questionable dudes, but I just don't trust it. I'm not 100% convinced. So if I'm spending a top 3 round pick on him, like I need something to be a little bit more sure of. There's just too many question marks for me.
Wow, way to carry the show while I had 3.5 minutes of a sneezing fit. I had to mute my mic because I couldn't go 10 seconds without sneezing.
Oh, wow. I saw that. I was like, well, all right, here we go. Let's ramble.
Yeah, I had to mute my mic, and then at one point I sneezed so hard I turned my camera off. So the allergies up here are real, man. This rain is killing me, but
it's not fun.
See, I think I'm the Walker guy. Maybe it's because I'm just the anti-Zach Charbonnet guy. I was a Michigan fan. I don't think he impresses me. I think he's going to get to camp and just see how much bigger and better Walker is. I don't know if he's actually that much bigger, but
no, I don't. He might be smaller, but he's
he might. But I think he's built, but like he's ripped.
Yeah, player profile loves the dog in him, and I know. Like
I tried to not go to the dog one because everyone just accused me of going to the old player. Well, that's not an argument. You just said he's a dog and use that.
Yeah,
I've had enough of arguing about that, so I was trying
so
to
hard
avoid
to quantify that. Yeah, no, I get it. Like, yeah, he's proven that he is like him to come in the league and to dominate touches the way he did, and it was a really fun rookie year. I get it. It's just at that cost, like I'm hands off. I can't do it.
I've been getting him everywhere, so I'm either going to be right and he's going to be a steal, or he's going to kill a lot of my teams and I'm going to be very, very wrong. So I guess we're going to find out.
It's a lot of fun to go that route sometimes where you're just like, well, this is make or break time. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it worked out very well with DJ Moore last year.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Even Justin Herbert, those injuries, he killed like half my teams last year.
He just fell apart with that injury. His side was destroyed.
Bringing up, I like this guy. This is one of my guys.
Yeah,
the most undervalued receiver in the league. We have wide receiver Deontay Johnson, 882 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns, 159.7 PPR points, good for 10.57 per game. Wide receiver 30, despite the fact he didn't score. ADP currently of 65 overall for wide receiver. Where the hell is he? Can't find him. 74 overall. What did I have him up there for? 65. So he's dropped. He's down to 74 now for wide receiver 33. Yeah. Somehow he is 2 spots above George Pickens, which I don't understand.
I don't get it either.
I think he came up in an earlier podcast and I brought up our player profiler championship draft, and it was amazing. The 2 of them went back to back, and I don't understand how. I would take Deontay hands down.
Every time. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Deontay?
Like, he's a target hog. It's just that simple. The guy, the last 3 years, he's seen 144 targets, 169 targets, 147 targets. Like, it's the target rate's there. His target share is there. It's just a solid 27%. No big deal. Like, the guy just, what he does is he just wins, and he wins everywhere on the field. Now, he has not been super efficient, and that has been the problem with him. But he was a wide receiver. Like, he was top 12 wide receiver last year. And what happened this last year? It was just the offense was horrendous with Mitchell Trubisky. Like, it was brutal. And he didn't catch any touchdowns. So at a cost of wide receiver 30, and I'm looking on Underdog right now. It's wide receiver 34. Like, it's not very hard for him to beat that cost. Like, look at who you're taking him next to. It's like, come on, the guy's gonna see another 150 targets.
Oh,
like,
I thought I brought that up. I've been flipping through, shaking my head. I didn't realize I didn't share that screen. Let me bring his ADP up where I look and it's a bunch of guys I'm not taking. Like, Watson, Judy, all the way up. Williams, Godwin. I think we did this before. He on another show. He is wide receiver 33, and I can get myself all the way up to probably DK. It's probably 16 or 17 where I go, I'd maybe take Cooper. Like, okay, DK, like I said, DK's the cutoff. I'm not considering him there, but from 16 to his spot at 33, I'd probably consider him over most of these guys. I'd either take him hands down or at least it would be close. So
yeah, you could jump him up a couple rounds. I wouldn't complain. I'd be like, you know what? He's gonna see work. So that's what we want from wide receivers. We want the volume. Like, it's just people are just so frustrated. I get it. It's a reaction, but the guy's good. Like, plain and simple. He's good. I don't know what else you want from him.
He didn't score a touchdown. I get it. He finished as wide receiver 30 with no touchdowns. It's like the other one. We had this conversation last time when we were talking about Ayuk compared to Debo and why Debo's going as wide receiver 16 and Ayuk is going as wide receiver 32.
They should be closer.
Do we really just get take lock that bad? Like, we're taking Ayuk 16 picks later, 16 receivers later. We're taking Deontay in the same range as Pickens. Why? Because Pickens makes the nice OBJ catch once per game and then does nothing.
Yeah, highlight reel, man. It'll get you every time. People are like, "Oh, that's a nice play," but then he's got 2 catches for 40 yards and nothing, and it's like, what does that get you, right? It's just like,
I don't understand it at all. Give me George Pickens. Give me Deontay Johnson all day long. 100%. He is definitely what I'm taking. Well, I guess that wraps it up. We were running short here because of some technical difficulties and some allergy difficulties, so we got through it pretty quickly. Would you like to take a second here to tell everyone where they can find you and your work?
Yeah, so you can find me underneath JMoeller05 on Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me on the Rantings of Fantasy Football Fanatic, the podcast for that. And then you can find my written work on the League Winners and PTW Fantasy. So that should sum it up nicely where you can find me.
Sweet. Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining me. This has been our latest episode of Studs and Duds. Once again, I'm Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and thank you for joining me on the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks again, Jesse. Have a good night, everyone.